Okay, and what's going on there?
We lost my 2-year-old grandson that's walked in the woods back there and we can't find him. 3-year-old grandson.
Okay, so who's there with them?
His little sister.
You say he's 3-year-old?
Yeah, he's 3.
Okay.
The girls come to the house and left him there, and he's walked off somewhere, and we can't find him.
Okay, but you're not there at the house now?
I'm at the house, yeah.
Okay, and how long ago do you know he walked in there?
It's been at least 45 minutes, because we've been looking all in the woods for him.
And it's behind your house? Is it directly behind your house?
Yeah. Well, on the side, yeah.
Is he a white, black?
He's white.
Do you know what he was wearing?
Probably a black little coat.
A black coat?
Yeah.
Okay. Does he usually do this?
Huh?
Does he usually do this?
No.
Was he wearing pants?
Yeah, he had pants.
Was it jeans?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. You said about 45 minutes to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Is it a big area of woods behind your house?
Yeah, it's pretty big.
I think you've been out there looking for him?
Yes.
What is it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we got a deputy headed to you, okay? And you said 45 minutes directly behind your house or side?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, if you see him, let us know. We have some deputies headed that way, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello friends, Steve Stockton here with you. In this video, we're going to discuss children who claim to have been saved by bears in the wild. Join me. Let's walk and see. But before we begin, please take a moment to make sure you're subscribed, notification bell is on, and also you can click join, become a member of the channel, get some exclusive members only perks. Now, throughout this channel and across this community, we've seen many strange things that have gone on in the woods all across the world. There are times, though, when things happen that just can't be explained rationally or reasonably, despite seeming to be backed up by documentation and in some cases even factual evidence. We've discussed everything from fairies in the woods and people who have gone missing under strange and unusual circumstances, sometimes in front of witnesses. But every once in a while, we come across something so incredibly strange that it's hard to imagine it actually having happened at all. However, today we're going to discuss something unimaginably strange that is said to have happened not only once but twice. And while there are some facts and witness statements to make one think these things are really happening out there, it's still of course up to you to decide what you want to believe at the end of the day. One day, way back in June of 1783, a 4-year-old girl from Warren, New Hampshire named Sarah Witcher wanted to go with her parents to visit her uncle. Her uncle lived on a tall hill right behind their house, and for whatever reason, Sarah's parents didn't want her to go with them. No matter how much Sarah begged and pleaded with them, though, they refused to allow her to go and assured her they would only be gone a short time and she would be perfectly fine in the care of her older siblings until their return. However, it turns out that they were wrong, and due to some kind of miscommunication, when her parents returned, the older siblings who were supposed to be watching little Sarah asked why she hadn't returned with them. What came next was something that would be imprinted in New Hampshire history for centuries, but also the mystery of what happened to Sarah that day so long ago will live on forever in the minds of those of us who study strange things in the woods. So let's take a look at what allegedly happened on a sunny day in June many, many years ago. When Sarah's siblings asked where she was and why she hadn't returned with their parents, obviously Sarah's mother and father were immediately panicked. They sorted through the details with their siblings, and it didn't take long for everyone to realize that no one was watching Sarah and that she had wandered off somewhere. An immediate search party, including the family and their friends and neighbors in the community, quickly turned into something much larger, when dozens of people from all over the surrounding areas descended upon Warren to help search for the lost 4-year-old. On the second day of the search, reported back to the Witchers with some frightening news. Tracks believed to belong to Sarah were found deep in the wilderness behind the home, but following directly behind hers were the tracks of a large bear. This was terrible news, and the family came to the conclusion in their heads that it was more than likely their precious little girl was deceased. Everyone involved was disheartened, but it didn't slow down the search one bit, as now they were determined to at least recover Sarah's remains. It was decided among the community of searchers that if Sarah were to be found alive after all, whoever found her would fire 3 shots from their rifle into the air. The situation was a grim one, but Sarah's parents and siblings couldn't help but keep at least some hope that Sarah would be found alive and well, despite how minuscule the odds of that happening were. Searchers continued in their efforts for days on end, refusing to leave Sarah to the elements and wildlife of the dense forest. On the 4th day of the search, an expert wilderness woodsman from nearby Portsmouth, New Hampshire, arrived and joined the now exhausted search parties who were still out looking for Sarah. It was only a few hours later that the townspeople all heard the signal, 3 shots fired into the air. Sarah had not only been found, but was apparently alive and well. But what had happened to her? And what of the bear tracks discovered following so closely behind her most of the way? The expert woodsman from Plymouth, who was still a stranger to the community and Sarah's family, was now also a hero, and he happily returned Sarah directly to her mother's arms, as the rest of the community looked on with tears of joy in their eyes and prayers of thanks on their lips. Everyone was eager to know what had happened to the little girl, and she was more than happy to oblige them with her miraculous and now legendary tale. Sarah began by explaining that when her parents wouldn't allow her to go with them to visit her uncle, she became bored and decided to wander around picking wildflowers. Somehow, while walking along, her feet had been cut and began to bleed. Suddenly, as Sarah tried to figure out what to do, as now her feet were injured and hurting, and she still needed to get back home, a bear emerged from the woods. The little girl was immediately scared, but soon realized the bear seemed more curious than menacing, and so she stood there and did nothing as the animal approached her. According to Sarah, the bear walked right up to her, licked her, in essence giving her a kiss, and then laid down right there at her feet. Sarah somehow immediately took this to mean she was to lay down and use the bear as a warm and comfortable bed for the night. The only other thing Sarah is said to have revealed was that the bear simply stayed with her, either in that one spot or in the forest in general, and didn't leave her side until rescuers finally approached to bring her back out of the woods and reunite her with her family. Sarah went on to live a normal life, marry, and have children of her own. It's said she entertained others with her curious tale for many years after. And, as with any legend, be it factual or completely made up, the miraculous story took on many extra parts throughout the centuries. Some very common additions are that the stranger who found Sarah had been following a vision of some kind. And yet, in other retellings of the story, the prayers from the townspeople and Sarah's family were so fervent and earnest that that's what actually brought Sarah back and led to her being found safe and sound. It's even sometimes said that Sarah told her parents, quote, "A great black dog had kept her safe and warm at night," end quote. Of course, these things can't possibly be proven, but aren't known to be a part of Sarah's original retelling of the story. A man named William Little went out and researched the story, and using only accounts that were allegedly eyewitnesses to the event, wrote the book History of Warren, a hamlet located along the White Hills of New Hampshire. This is one of, if not the only book that's said to tell the true story, in the words of those who were there that day, in its entirety. While there's not much to this story, it's still pretty miraculous, and some would say unbelievable. Knowing what we know, and considering everything we've learned about the missing in the woods and things many have alleged to have experienced while lost out there, this could very well have happened. After all, Sarah is not the only child to have alleged a bear or other wild animal helped protect them and keep them safe while they were scared and lost in the wilderness for days on end. How else would these small children have survived, and why or how would they even come up with such strange tales if they weren't at least partially true to begin with? Maybe Sarah's story is a bit too old for some to believe it is anything more than a local myth or urban legend. If that's the case, however, then it's completely understandable, because these things do have a way of taking on a life of their own after some time. It seems to still be happening to this day. We've discussed some more recent cases, like 2-year-old Ida Mae Curtis, who in 1955 went missing in Montana's Kootenai Forest. She was lost for 2 whole days, and the entire time the weather had been pouring rain, but she was found safe and sound, no worse for the wear. She adamantly insisted that it was a big bear that had kept her safe and that cared so well for her during the entire time she'd been gone. In even more recent years, in 2019, a 3-year-old named Casey Hathaway went missing in the wilderness near his grandmother's home in North Carolina and told a very similar story when he was rescued. Here's his story, which some say is similar to the others in that it is very nonspecific as to what he and his companion did for days in the woods together, and only gives mention to the fact that an animal, in this case also a bear, miraculously went against its very nature in order to protect and perhaps save a human child. On January 23, 2019, little Casey Hathaway was playing with a couple of his older cousins in his great-grandmother's backyard, but when the others came inside, Casey wasn't with them. His family searched for him for approximately 45 minutes, hoping to find him on their own, but when they had no luck, they called the Craven County Sheriff's Department. On the phone with the 911 dispatcher, his grandmother reported, "He was walking in the woods back there, and we can't find him. The other ones come through the house, but left him there, and he walked off somewhere, and we can't find him." The next 2 nights were filled with freezing cold temperatures, pouring rain, and heavy winds, but the search and rescue teams and volunteers, along with Casey's family, never gave up hope. The FBI, the U.S. Marine Corps, dozens of volunteers, plus search and rescue teams from across the state, came together to help find the missing toddler. 3 days after he had last been seen in the backyard, a neighbor of his grandmother was out walking her dog and heard a loud cry coming from some nearby bushes, approximately 40 yards from the road. When the neighbor went over to investigate, she found little Casey Hathaway, alive and seemingly well, except that he was crying and tangled up in some thorn bushes. The authorities and Casey's family were immediately notified, and he was rushed to the hospital where he was described as being in surprisingly good condition. Though Casey didn't have much to say about what he had done and where he had been, according to David McFadden of the Craven County Sheriff's Office, who told CNN and other news outlets who were seeking information, quote, "He made a comment about having a friend while he was in the woods. His friend was a bear. In the emergency room, he started talking about what happened in the woods, and he said he had a friend that was a bear with him while he was in the woods," end quote. While Major McFadden admitted there were bears in the woods in the county, he said there was no way to prove one way or the other that one had been with Casey during the time he was missing. He went on to say that all that mattered was that there was something there to comfort the little boy throughout the ordeal. Major McFadden was also quoted as saying, "We are very pleased he had that type of comfort. There were very brutal conditions out there. The first night it dropped down to 20 degrees. The second night we had 2 inches of rain." Casey requested and is said to have absolutely devoured some of his favorite foods while at the hospital, including Cheetos and Chicken McNuggets. Aside from a few bruises, cuts, and scrapes, Casey was in good condition and was happy to be reunited with his family. While we may never really know what happened to any of these children, and at least a handful of others have claimed to have been protected and cared for by some unusual wildlife out in the woods, it definitely makes for much more than just an interesting story. In this community, sometimes it's hard to take things at face value, but there are some who believe cases like these and others, especially when it comes to small children who have no reason or incentive to lie about such things, that we need to read between the lines. Could it be that actually bears came out of the woods and went against their very nature in order to protect and rescue, at times even to care for, these little and otherwise helpless human children for days on end? Could it be there's something else at play here? And if so, what is it? What could it possibly be? And what interest does it have in human children? Some people believe that perhaps whatever the entities are, they simply appear to small children in the form of a bear due to the fact that there's so many bear in popular children's storybooks and fairy tales. This is all, of course, speculation, and we most likely will never know the real answers. But it is certainly something for us to consider and think about. One more interesting thing to be added about Sarah Witcher and her incredible tale of rescue and survival in the woods, the New Hampshire Historical Society has recently added, mainly due to requests made by first and second graders at Dublin Christian Academy, their 275th historical highway marker in honor of the little girl who was said to have been saved by a bear all those years ago. The marker is in accordance with the tale as told by Elizabeth Yates and reads in part, quote, "A local man joined the search after dreaming 3 times that Sarah would be found under a pine limb near Berry Brook, guarded by a bear. His dream proved to be true. Sarah was found, as he stated, and she told rescuers that a great black dog had kept her each night." End quote. Yet more elements added to the long and ever-evolving story of 3-year-old Sarah Witcher and her bear. Well, friends, there you have it. What do you think of these children who claim to have been saved by bears? I look forward to your comments, but as always, please keep it friendly and respectful. Until we meet again, take care of yourselves and each other. Stay safe out there. As for me, I'll see you a little further on down the trail. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'll talk to you next time. Hug your animals and tell them Steve says hi.